Hi, how's it going? Welcome to Rads. This is my early Premier League predictions. Not my final ones. I'm going to do my final ones probably either before the season starts or after the transfer window because you can get a much clearer picture of what each team's going to look like. But I did this last year, an early edition of my Premier League predictions, and it's always interesting to see how it changes. Bear in mind, this is incredibly difficult to do because how the hell can you actually predict an entire football league 10 months in advance? So before you comment something rude like, I'll donate some money to get some lip balm for you, well, thank you very much for not doing that because I already had some. You know what I mean? There we go. I feel refreshed. I feel refreshed, Brad. Cheers, mate. Going in a random order, let's start with Burnley. I think they'll be fine this season, honestly. Of all the promoted clubs, I think they're the most likely to survive. Under Vincent Kompany, an exciting project, completely different kind of proposition, I think, to Burnley under Sean Dyche. I don't think they'll be like that at all. I think they'll be a very different kind of team. A bit like Fulham, though, how they came up, having dominated the Championship like they did. People were saying, how can they juggle it? Can they play a different kind of football to suit the Premier League when they've got less of the ball? And it worked for them. They came 10th. Can Burnley do the same? Hopefully they can for their sake. Crystal Palace, I think they'll be in the same category. Let's just do it in order. Palace, I think they'll be okay. They definitely will. Some great players in there, but they just need to add to it if they really want to try and push forward. If you look at their team, they've got some good players in there for sure. No doubt about it. But they've lost Zaha. They've only got one left back in Tyreek Mitchell. A good left back, but they've got one left back. You know, they could do with a striker in my opinion as well. Keeping Roy Hodgson, it's a safe option. He's done well for them in the past many times, especially last season when he came back and, got them going again. But I just don't feel it's ambitious enough long term for Crystal Palace, and I just don't think they'll come any further than 13th. Aston Villa, I think they'll be in this category again. I don't know why I'm not putting them in European football, because I think they can get it again. Yeah, they got Europe last year just from having a really good end to it. Can they do it for an entire season? And being in Europe, can they juggle it? I think Villa can go quite far in the Conference League as well. The Tielemans signing, I love that. That's brilliant business. And Pau Torres could be coming in as well soon for Villa. Excellent signing there. So you can't fault their ambition. Brentford will put them in this category as well, I feel. Great club, lots of ambition to become a very stable Premier League club. I think they already are becoming that. They are the benchmark for most promoted teams. Them, Villa, Brighton, now Fulham I think as well if they can maintain it this season. No Ivan Toney for half a season, but if they replace him I think they can do okay. Nathan Collins, I think that's a great sign from Wolves. So I think Brentford will continue to do pretty well. Let's just get Man City out the way and say they're going to get top 4. It's kind of standard stuff really, isn't it? Man City are going to be in the top 4, all but certainly. They're just an absolute super team. I mean, they've lost Gundogan. That's quite a big loss for the Premier League. He's a brilliant servant for Man City, gone to Barcelona. Sad about that, but I don't think they're going to particularly struggle without him because they've just signed Kovacic. They could very well sign someone else as well. They've signed that guy, the Croatian defender that I can't pronounce, for a lot of money, like 100 million or something, mental. They're only going to get stronger. Bottom 3, it's tough. It's tough because I have a case for all 3 teams I'm going to put in the bottom 3 to survive. But I also feel they're going to get relegated too. I'm going to say Sheffield United. I just don't feel they have enough. I think they've got some good players in there, but I just think the squad is amazing Championship quality, but I just don't know if it's got enough Premier League quality in it. Sander Berg is amazing. I think Ndiaye did great towards the end of last season for them. I think players like that can do well for them, but I just feel they need a lot more in their side to really kick on. Tottenham next. That looks ridiculous. It's literally half the bird. Like, that looks a bit stupid. I think Spurs will get Europe again this season. I think not having Europe this season will actually really help them. Just a chance for them to reset and just reevaluate what they are as a club. Losing Harry Kane, if that does happen, that could massively affect them. And I could genuinely say Spurs can be in this category again. No matter the fact that they have signed James Maddison, they could be signing Solomon, who used to play for Fulham last season. The Italian goalkeeper that they've signed that I can't pronounce. I'm great with names, as you can tell. I like that ambition in the transfer window. A lot of people are slagging off Daniel Levy, saying he doesn't know what he's doing. That may very well be the case, but you can't really fault him for putting in the effort to try and strengthen this squad, which is in desperate need of attention. Liverpool, I'm going to put them in the top 4 again, honestly. I think it was a one-off last season, them not getting top 4. It was the first half and a bit of last season that cost them top 4 because they had a great end to it and they were unlucky not to get it in the end. I think now that Gakpo and Nunes, for example, have had a year to settle into the club, they're only going to be more embedded in it and settled, for example. I think those 2 players in particular that will apply to. Signing McAllister and Szoboszlai, I think that's great business from Liverpool. The midfield was their biggest weakness. Lavia could be coming in as well from Southampton. Let's talk about Nottingham Forest. Don't know much about this team, so bear with me. Right now, with Wayne Hennessy and Ethan Horvath as our goalkeepers, I genuinely would say relegation or 17th, because that is not ideal at all. However, we're going to all but certainly, we are going to replace them, surely. Like, I think one of them will stay around. The other one will probably get sold or loaned out, probably Horvath. But Henderson could be coming back. We could be getting another goalkeeper. We need probably to get another left back, a midfielder, a striker. I did a video about this yesterday, which I would do every week, in fact, a transfer roundup about Nottingham Forest. Go and check it out right here. We saw how good we were when we were finally a gelled, cohesive unit towards the end of last season, when everyone was slagging us off. It actually suddenly became the time where we became the most together, the most gelled. If you can build on that, there's no reason why we can't come 13th. Fulham, I think they'll be in this category again. I don't think they're going to drop off like some people are predicting that I've seen on the internet. I just think Fulham will be okay again. I don't really know what to say about them. They've got a good team there, good stable Premier League squad. Mitrovic, of course, is the first one that springs to mind. They've lost Willian, they've lost Solomon, which isn't ideal. They probably do need to bring in a few players, Fulham, but overall, I think they'll probably be okay again. I think Brighton will be 7th this year. I think Conference League will still be a great achievement for them. It's going to be interesting to see how they do in the Europa League. I mean, I think they can go fairly far. They could do a bit of a West Ham and try and win it and get the semi-finals or something. I think would be an unbelievable achievement. They've never been in Europe at all in their history, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they do. They're just a brilliantly run club, aren't they? You know, they could be losing Colwell, who was on loan, of course. Bassi from Ajax could be coming in. I've seen that rumour. They're probably going to lose Casado. They've lost McAllister, but Brighton just have this unbelievable habit of, when they lose a star player for a lot of money, finding a way to replace them with someone that you probably don't even know who they are, and they just become this gem. Let's go with Wolves next. I think they'll come, well, bottom end of these 4 teams at the very least. I think Wolves, they've kind of lost their identity. They were getting European football when they were first in the Premier League again, but the last 2 seasons they've come below 12th, become very, very stale, hard to watch, scored the least amount of goals in the entire Premier League last season, only 31 goals, and yet they came 14th, I think it was. So that's a real issue. They've got to start scoring more goals. I've got to mention Ruben Neves as well. Losing him to Saudi Arabia is just a massive kick in the teeth for them. I'm going to say Everton in the bottom 3. I'm going to continue to say it because I just feel that's where they're heading. They seem to find a way every single time to survive. The last 2 seasons they found a way to do it. But how many more times can they keep doing that? Everton, they need to heavily invest in this squad. They can't really because they've got a lot of debts. Their new stadium is kind of a reason for that. They haven't signed a single player. You look at their strikers. Calvert-Lewin's great, but he's always injured. Ellis Sims, he's a good young player, but is he really the answer? And Neil Maupay, right? He completely flopped for them last season. So striker is a real area of weakness. They've lost Connor Cody. For some reason, they didn't try and bring him back. I think that would have been a no-brainer. He's now gone to the Championship for Leicester, which I think is an incredible signing. I'm going to continue to say they're going to get relegated until they sort themselves out. Newcastle, I think they'll get top 4 again. I don't think they're going to do much more than what they did this season. Just continue to build and become an established European levels club, I think, is the main thing that Newcastle need to do. I think they're going to give the Champions League a real go. They could do pretty well in it potentially. How can they juggle it? Will it affect them in the league? I don't think it will affect them too much. Sandro Tonali is an exceptional signing for Newcastle. I mean, they wanted Barella, but they've gone and got Tonali instead. I mean, fair play to them. Chelsea, this is tough. This is difficult. I kind of want to put them outside of Europe again. Because, listen, right, Poch is a great manager. It's still weird him being at Chelsea. Just because he's in at the door doesn't mean that Chelsea is suddenly going to be great. Because their issue is off the field. Todd Boehly is such an untrustworthy owner. They've cleared all their FFP by selling all their players to Saudi Arabia, which is quite smart actually. They've lost a lot of players. Mendy, Ziyech, Havertz, Kante, Koulibaly, they've all gone. But Chelsea just need a year to bed in. If they sign a load of players again, then that's not going to help. And under Todd Boehly's ownership, I don't see them really doing much better. I think they can get into like the Europa League or Conference League. I really do. At the expense of maybe a Brighton. But I don't see why I should drop Brighton off. A club that are in a great place for a club that, yes, are bigger, technically, but not necessarily better right now. I think Bournemouth will probably come here, 16th place. I don't think they'll go down. I kind of thought they would when they got rid of Gary O'Neill, thinking, what on earth are they playing at getting rid of O'Neill? They did such a great job. But at the end of the day, he was only a temporary measure for them, and he did kind of get exposed a little bit at times, and maybe he would have done if he'd stayed on. Bournemouth actually, as brutal as it was, just wanted to better themselves and get in a high-end manager, and he is a great appointment for them. And I feel someone like him, with a different set of ideas, more of an actual experienced first-team manager, could do a good job. I mean, Justin Kluivert is an excellent signing for them. And I feel they could do well again, but nothing too spectacular. Okay, we haven't even spoken about it yet. Luton Town, they have to for me. I don't know how I can see a world in which to survive. I'm not just being predictable. I really didn't want to be predictable, but I just feel Luton won't have enough. I feel at that stadium, that could be a real fortress for them. I'm not even going to take the mick out of it. I feel that stadium can be a major thing that can help them. But can they maintain it? Are they going to get found out? How are they going to deal with Man City on the road, for example? They need a lot more. And okay, I think these are good players. Anderson was good for Barnsley. Getting a Rotherham winger for free, I mean, like, he doesn't scream, we're staying in the Premier League. This is just a fairy tale for Luton. I wouldn't be entirely shocked if they stayed up. I think they could. I think they could do what Sheffield United did and do what Huddersfield did when they came up and do what all of the promoted sides did last season and shock everyone. But I just feel it's a really, really big task for them. West Ham, I'm going to go with here. I'm going to actually say probably just 12th, I think. Good team, won the Conference League. They do need a bit more to them. They're going to lose Declan Rice for a huge amount of money. It's down to who replaces him, really, with that one. I think if they get in a good replacement, that's good business. West Ham will want to aim to try and be back in this kind of category, but I just don't see it because of the strength of Brighton. I think Spurs will probably be in and around it as always. Chelsea are going to try and push for it. Villa are, Brentford are, Fulham probably are as well. I just don't know if West Ham should be put ahead of all these teams. Maybe Fulham. So long as they do better in the league, I think it's a step in the right direction with European football again for them next season. Two big guns left then. We'll put Arsenal second. Love what they're doing, honestly. They unexpectedly were in the title race and it really petered out for them, and yet they're now immediately this summer just putting the foot down thinking, right, we've got to go for this. We've got to take this seriously. They want Lavia. He may very well be going to Liverpool, but without him, they've still got Havertz. They're still going to get Rice. They want Timber from Ajax as well, and they're probably going to try and get some other players in as well. That's some excellent deals right there. Arsenal spending £100 million is unheard of compared to them of a few years ago, so I think they'll be second. And Man United, they've got every right in the world to be in the top four. Every right in the world to be in the top four, but I just feel, I think Liverpool will be stronger, and I think Newcastle will continue to grow, and these two right now I think are locked in. They need to sort out this goalkeeper situation. Can you hurry up, please? Because we want Dean Henderson. And I just feel, Mason Mount, it's a lot of money to spend on someone that I don't think it's going to massively improve them. That is my early Premier League prediction, about 5 weeks before the season starts. So then my final version of this, probably when the transfer window comes round, or comes to the end, I should say. Hope you've enjoyed, everyone. Please hit the like button, subscribe to Rads if you're new, if you've enjoyed this video, and yeah, up the Reds.